Something strange happens when you stop doing the things you thought were keeping her interested. She notices, not immediately, not the first day or even the first week, but eventually she feels it. The shift in air pressure, the absence of something she didn't know she was tired of, and that absence creates a want that wasn't there before. You've seen this play out. The moment you genuinely stop caring about the relationship, she becomes interested again. The moment you focus on something else, she texts. The moment you stop trying to fix things, she wants to talk. It's not coincidence. It's not her being difficult. It's biology and psychology colliding in a way that makes perfect sense once you understand what you stop doing. Number 1, you stop seeking her approval. For months, maybe years, you were checking in, asking if she was happy, if the relationship was okay, if she was satisfied with how things were going. Every question was a request for validation. Every conversation was a performance review. And she could feel it. The weight of your need for her approval pressing down on every interaction. Then something shifted. Maybe you got tired. Maybe you stopped caring. Maybe you realized her approval didn't actually change anything about your day, so you stopped asking, stopped checking in, stopped performing for her assessment of you. And the moment you stopped seeking her approval, you became more attractive than you'd been in years. Women are taught from childhood that their value lies in being desired. But desire from a man who needs approval isn't desire at all. It's desperation dressed up as affection. Real desire comes from a place of completeness, not lack. When you stopped needing her to validate your choices, your appearance, your worth, you accidentally became the kind of man she couldn't stop thinking about. This isn't manipulation. This is what happens when you remove the burden of your emotional maintenance from her shoulders. She was tired of managing your feelings about yourself, tired of reassuring you, tired of being responsible for your self-esteem. The moment you took that responsibility back, she could breathe. And in that breathing space, she remembered why she was attracted to you in the first place. Not to the version of you that needed her, to the version that didn't. Number 2, you stopped explaining yourself. You used to justify everything. Where you were going, why you were going there, who you'd be with, how long you'd be gone, when you'd be back. Not because she asked. Because you thought transparency would prevent problems. You thought if she understood everything, she'd have no reason to be upset. You were wrong. Over-explanation communicates insecurity. It says you don't trust your own decisions enough to let them stand on their own. It says you believe you need permission to live your life. It says her potential disapproval terrifies you more than your own judgment matters to you. And that terror, that need to preemptively defend yourself, made you smaller in her eyes every time you did it. Then you stopped. Not because you were hiding anything, because you realized explaining yourself to someone who should trust you was degrading. If she trusts you, explanation is unnecessary. If she doesn't trust you, explanation won't help. So you started saying where you were going and leaving it at that. No elaboration, no justification, no defensive preamble about why this was reasonable or necessary. She tested this at first, asked more questions, pushed for details, wanted to know why you were being distant. And you stayed calm, answered direct questions without volunteering extra information, treated her like an adult who could handle not knowing every detail of your interior world. And something shifted. She stopped asking, started trusting, started respecting the boundary you didn't know you'd created just by stopping the constant explaining. Men think women want full transparency. Women think they want full transparency. But what they actually want is a man who doesn't feel compelled to defend his existence, a man who makes decisions and lives with them, a man who doesn't need her permission to be himself. Number 3, you stopped trying to fix her moods. She'd come home in a bad mood, work stress, friend, drama, existential dread about aging, whatever. and you'd go into fix-it mode immediately, asking what's wrong, offering solutions, trying to cheer her up, suggesting things she could do differently. Taking responsibility for emotional weather you didn't create and couldn't control. This exhausted both of you. She felt pressure to perform happiness she didn't feel. You felt frustrated that nothing you did made a difference. The harder you tried to fix her mood, the worse it got. Because fixing someone's mood implies their mood is wrong, that they shouldn't feel what they're feeling, that their emotional experience is a problem you need to solve. Then you stopped trying. Not because you stopped caring, because you realized her moods weren't about you, weren't your responsibility, weren't something you could or should fix. So when she came home upset, you acknowledged it without trying to change it. Let her be upset. Let her process. Let her feel whatever she was feeling without making it your project. This terrified you at first. You thought if you didn't fix her mood, she'd think you didn't care. But the opposite happened. She felt seen in a way she hadn't before, seen as someone capable of handling her own emotions, seen as an adult who doesn't need an emotional babysitter, seen as a whole person, not a problem to be solved. Women don't want their moods fixed. They want their moods witnessed. The moment you stopped trying to rescue her from her own feelings, you became someone she could actually be honest with, someone she didn't have to perform happiness around, someone she could trust with the full range of her emotional experience. Number 4, you stopped being available all the time. Your phone used to be an extension of your hand. Text comes in, you respond within minutes. Call comes in, you answer. She needed something, you dropped what you were doing. You were accessible, available, always within reach. And you thought this was what good partners did? Stay connected, stay responsive, stay present. But constant availability isn't presence. It's anxiety. It's the fear that if you're not immediately responsive, she'll think you don't care. Or worse, that she'll find someone who is immediately responsive. So you stayed tethered, and she felt that tether. Felt the weight of your need for her to need you. Felt your identity wrapped up in being the person who's always there. Then, something changed. You got busy, or tired, or you realized your life had shrunk to the size of her needs. So you stopped responding immediately, started putting your phone down during meals, during work, during the things that mattered to you, took hours to respond instead of minutes, sometimes forgot to respond at all, not out of spite, out of genuine involvement in something else. She noticed immediately, got anxious, sent follow-up texts, called when you didn't respond. And you stayed calm, responded when you responded. Didn't apologize for the delay, didn't explain what you were doing, just continued living your life with her as part of it, not the center of it. This recalibrated everything. She stopped taking your attention for granted, started valuing your time, started competing with the other things in your life for your focus. And in that competition, she remembered she wanted you, not needed you, wanted you. There's a difference. Need is draining. Want is exciting. You can't be wanted if you're always available. Want requires absence, requires the possibility of not having. Number 5, you stop trying to make the relationship work. This is the one that changes everything. For however long you were invested in the relationship succeeding, you read articles, you initiated conversations about feelings, you suggested couples activities, you planned date nights, you worked on yourself, you tried to be better. You carried the emotional labor of keeping things alive, and she could feel it, could feel you trying, could feel the weight of your investment, could feel your fear of losing her, could feel how much you needed this to work. And that need, that visible effort, that obvious investment made her wonder if you had better options. Because men with better options don't try this hard. Men with better options don't fear loss. Men with better options walk away when things stop working. Then you stopped trying. Not because you wanted out, because you got tired of being the only one invested, tired of carrying the relationship alone, tired of caring more. So you stopped initiating the deep talks, stopped planning the dates, stopped working on things, started living your life with or without her buy-in, started making decisions based on what you wanted, not what would make the relationship better. This created panic, not immediate panic, slow building panic. The realization that you might be okay without her, that you might leave, that you might have finally hit the point where trying doesn't matter anymore. And in that panic, she started trying, started initiating, started planning, started investing, because the relationship she took for granted suddenly felt uncertain. And uncertainty creates desire in a way certainty never can. You didn't plan this, didn't strategize it, didn't read it in a book about relationship dynamics. You just got exhausted and stopped. And in stopping, you accidentally became the version of yourself she fell for originally. The version that had a life she wanted to be part of, not a life built around keeping her. None of this is manipulation. Manipulation requires intention. This is what happens when you stop manipulating yourself. Stop contorting into the shape you think she wants. Stop performing the role of perfect partner. Stop trying to earn something you should never have to earn. Stop making her approval the center of your existence. When you stop doing these 5 things, you don't become a better man. You become yourself. And yourself, unedited and unperformed, is more attractive than any version you've been trying to be. Not because you're particularly special, because you're finally real. And real is rare enough that it stands out in a world of performance. She doesn't suddenly want you more because you changed. She suddenly wants you more because you stopped changing, stopped adapting. Stop molding yourself to fit her expectations or your fear of losing her. You became fixed, solid, immovable. And there's something deeply attractive about a man who's decided who he is and isn't negotiating that anymore. This doesn't guarantee anything. She might not come back, might not suddenly become the partner you wanted, might leave anyway. But at least you'll be yourself when she does. At least you'll know you didn't lose yourself trying to keep someone who didn't want the real version anyway. At least you'll have your dignity, your time, your life, the things you stopped doing to try to make her happy. And maybe, just maybe, she'll notice what you stopped doing. Notice the absence of your need. Notice the space where your desperation used to be. Notice that you're okay without her and want to be part of that okayness, not because you need her, because she wants to be chosen by someone who doesn't need to choose her, wants to be wanted by someone who's fine either way, wants to matter to someone who doesn't need her to matter. That's when she suddenly wants you more. Not when you try harder, when you stop trying altogether, when you become the kind of man who's complete with or without her, when you stop doing everything you thought was keeping her and discover that what keeps someone isn't effort. Well, it's the lack of it.